America Before, The Key to Earth's Lost Civilization, by Frank Joseph. From New Dawn 175, July August 2019. Humans were in America long before we've been told, and the Australian Aborigines have a genetic connection to the Amazon which once had great cities. Frank Joseph looks at the fresh discoveries in Graham Hancock's latest book. As the former editor-in-chief, 1993 to 2007, and ongoing writer for Ancient American, a U.S. magazine examining Old World impact on the New World before 1492 recently released materials regarding pre-Columbian possibilities often come my way. I was surprised, however, to find that Graham Hancock's latest tome, America Before, compares remarkably with Before Atlantis, 2013, my own book, published 6 years earlier, in more than title. Both works go into the Bering Land Bridge theory, megalithic alignments with the Cygnus constellation, Easter Island's Moai, Göbekli Tepe, the discoveries of Albert Goodyear, Brazil's Stonehenge, the Meadowcroft rock shelter, Neanderthals, the Clovis First controversy, Pedra Furida, etc., etc. Other topics tackled in America Before, Ohio's Great Serpent Mound, North American Earthworks, the Pursue Bird, Cahokia, et al., were likewise described at length in my earlier releases, Discovering the Mysteries of Ancient America, 2006, Atlantis and Other Lost Worlds, 2008, Unearthing Ancient America, 2009, Advanced Civilizations of Prehistoric America, 2010, Lost Worlds of Ancient America, 2012, Lost Colonies of Ancient America, 2014, and Lost History of Ancient America, 2016, full stop. Independent research that arrives at common conclusions tends to validate disparate investigators at work in the same field. Of them all, Graham Hancock is certainly the best known, thanks to his early association with such prestigious periodicals as The Times, The Independent, The Economist, and The Guardian, which granted him access to major book publishers with international distribution, such as Street, Martin's Press, publisher of his latest work. His Fingerprints of the Gods was a worldwide bestseller. At the time of its release in 1995, critics, even though sympathetic to the author's belief in ancient catastrophism, faulted him for merely reworking long-known if not well-publicized information. But they were forced to admit that Hancock acquainted millions of readers with otherwise neglected information about the deep past. America Before is not unlike Fingerprints of the Gods in that it introduces an international audience to a version of antiquity not otherwise available in schools or mainstream publications. America Before also joins Before Atlantis in highlighting a global cataclysm that occurred near the end of the Ice Age around 12,800 years ago. A disintegrating comet crossed the orbit of the Earth and bombarded a planet with a swarm of fragments. Familiar language to readers already familiar with the destruction of Atlantis, 2002, and its sequel. Survivors of Atlantis, 2004, similarly tells how an abundance of physical proof for worldwide destruction left by comets during the Bronze Age was offered by scientists meeting at Fitzwilliam College, in Cambridge, England. In 1997, they presented undeniable evidence in the form of annual growth rings at Irish bogs and oak forests, ash fall deposits from Greenland ice cores, impact lines made by colossal waves along the shores of Morocco, abrupt lake level changes from Western Europe to South America, and small, glassy spherules that result specifically from cometary collisions subjecting rock to intense heat. Earth's periodic brushes with celestial upheaval belong to a pattern of astronomical interface with a planet that abruptly terminated the Ice Age, as described in America Before and earlier in Before Atlantis. Buried in the floor of Lake Kitsia was a thin, dark layer containing unequivocal evidence for a large, cosmic body that struck central Mexico just when the Younger Dryas period opened with such violence. Virtually identical sediment strata dated to the same period have been previously located at numerous locations throughout North America, Greenland, and Western Europe. According to Science Daily, the data suggests that a comet or asteroid, likely a large, previously fragmented body, greater than several hundred meters in diameter, entered the atmosphere at a relatively shallow angle. The heated impact burned biomass, melted surface rocks, and caused major environmental disruption. The resulting crater became Lake Kitsia, measuring 12.5 miles across, with an average depth of 90 feet. Dr. James Kennett, professor of Earth Science at the University of California, Santa Barbara, told the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, these results are consistent with earlier reported discoveries throughout North America of abrupt ecosystem change, megafaunal extinction, and human cultural change and population reduction. These changes were large, abrupt and unprecedented, and had been recorded and identified by earlier investigators at a time of crisis. The timing of the impact coincided with the most extraordinary biotic and environmental changes over Mexico and Central America during the last approximately 20,000 years, as recorded by others in several regional lake deposits. Professor of Earth Science Dr. James Kennett and other researchers postulate from the evidence that a fragmented comet slammed into the Earth close to 12,800 years ago, causing rapid climatic changes, megafaunal extinctions, sudden human population decrease and cultural shifts, and widespread wildfires, biomass burning. They studied the impact spherules in 18 sites in 9 countries on 4 continents for their study. Graphic credit, YDB Research Group. The floor of Lake Kitsia is rich in spherules formed when they collided with each other at high velocities during the whirling chaos of an extraterrestrial impact. They are joined by numerous specimens of lonstellite, an identifiable configuration, nanodimens assume, when they are pressured by large meteorite collisions, and aciniform soot, the acne-like appearance of dust residue resulting from the same cause. These materials form only through cosmic impact, Kennett explained, not through volcanic or other natural terrestrial processes. In the entire geologic record, the only other known continental layer with abundant peaks in lonstellite, impact spherules, and aciniform soot is in the 65-million-year-old Cretaceous Paleogene boundary layer that coincided with the extinction of the dinosaurs. Evidence for early human settlement. Recent discoveries show that North America was first peopled at least 130,000 years ago, according to Hancock, many tens of thousands of years before human settlements were established in Europe and Asia. Homo sapiens sapiens. Yes, but the European continent was actually settled 170,000 years earlier by Neanderthals. In fact, the oldest evidence for proto-humans in Europe goes back 1.3 million years. At least is a bit of an understatement for human settlement in the New World, because Before Atlantis describes how prehistorian Juan Amina Camacho discovered lithic implements at Huayatlaco, 70 miles southeast of Mexico City. According to US geologist Dr. Virginia Stain McIntyre, radiometric dates using methods identical to those used in Africa to date the early sites that place Huayatlaco's stone tools to slightly over a 250,000 years ago. Some 30 years prior to Camacho's find, a still older site came to light 1 mile north from the Oklahoma town of Frederick, at a 10-mile-long, half-mile wide ridge. 10 to 25 feet beneath the surface of this gravel deposit occur dozens of well-crafted stone implements cemented in place in common strata, with the bones of extinct animals firmly dated to 750,000 years ago. C.N. Gould, director of the Oklahoma Geological Survey, reported, there can be no doubt that the artifacts occur in the pit near the basal portion, on the same level as the fossil remains. An examination of the undisturbed face of the pit, immediately above the position of the finds, showed unbroken, nearly horizontal strata above it. As the case stands, it looks very much as though the artifacts are of the same antiquity as the fossil animals. At the same time, it would be well to reserve final judgment until we are certain that the artifacts are not secondary inclusions. Since Gould released his report in 1929, subsequent investigations of the Hollowman Pit, as it is locally known, repeatedly confirmed that the stone tools are not later inclusions but were indeed laid down at the same time the animal bones were stratified, 750,000 years ago. As recently as 2005, archaeologist Sylvia Gonzalez of Liverpool's John Moores University in England discovered a line of human footprints dating back 40,000 years ago near Puebla, in Mexico. Conventional scholars, convinced no humans set foot in Middle America before 12,000 years ago, sought to debunk the heretical period. She assigned the evidence by dispatching a team of leading geologists led by Paul Uren, director of California's Berkeley Geochronology Center, to the site. Once there, they took repeated argon testing to investigate the magnetic imprint of the footprinted, magmatic rock, together with other state-of-the-art procedures. Wren announced their results in the scientific journal Nature, stating that the rock featuring the footprints was not 40,000 years old after all. It was, instead, 1.3 million years old. During the early 20th century, archaeologist Carlos Amigano, 1865 to 1936, led teams of excavators along the Argentine coast south of Buenos Aires after detecting clues to an early habitation site at Miramar. By 1914, he discovered numerous stone tools cemented within Pliocene-era strata. As Sylvia Gomez experienced in the following century, Amigano's critics commissioned a group of professional geologists to debunk his assertion. Instead, they verified it, stating that the artifacts had been laid down between 2 million and 3 million years ago. Although their analysis was released by the prestigious Annals del Museo de Historia Natural de Buenos Aires, it has since been ignored by archaeologists in the outside world. Australia Amazon, an unexpected discovery. Certain tribes of the Amazon jungle, States America befores back, cover globe, are closely related to Australian Aborigines. How did this extraordinary, unexpected, and extremely ancient DNA signal get to the Amazon? This question elevates Hancock's new book with fresh discoveries that threaten to shake the scientific establishment to its core by opening an entirely new and revolutionary archaeological theatre of operations. The vast Amazon region has long been dismissed by mainstream scholars as anciently underpopulated and barren of all but the most backward, native cultures, hermetically sealed off by nature from the outside world. Hancock writes, in September 2015, Pontus Skoglund, his senior colleague Professor David Reich of the Department of Genetics at Harvard Medical School, and other leading experts in the field, announced in the pages of Nature that they had found new evidence in South America, and specifically in the Amazon rainforest, that called for a rethink. Researchers mapped similarities in genes, mutations and random pieces of DNA of Central and South American tribes with groups in other parts of the world, including Australia. Warmer colors indicate the strongest affinities. Researcher Skoglund said a statistically clear signal linking Native Americans in the Amazonian region of Brazil to present-day Australo-Melanesians and Andaman Islanders was confirmed. Graphic credit, Pontus Skoglund, Harvard Medical School. He quotes Skoglund's genome-wide data to show that some Amazonian Native Americans descend partly from a Native American founding population that carried ancestry more closely related to indigenous Australians, New Guineans and Andaman Islanders than to present-day Eurasians, or Native Americans, and are, in Hancock's words, more closely related to Melanesian Papuans and Australian Aborigines than to any other Native American population. We spent a really long time trying to make this result go away, Skoglund explained, but it just got stronger. In the end, a statistically clear signal linking Native Americans in the Amazonian region of Brazil to present-day Australo-Melanesians and Andaman Islanders was confirmed. We also know it has to be pre-Columbian, added Professor Esk Willerslev of Denmark Center for Geogenetics at the University of Copenhagen. Further studies by Willerslev and his colleagues found Australian DNA, already present in skeletal remains from Lagoa Santa, Brazil, dated to 10,400 years ago, and confirmed the suspicion of the researchers that the anomalous genetic signal must have reached South America in the late Pleistocene, that is, near the end of the last ice age, when a group of people carrying Australo-Melanesian genes settled in what is now the Amazon jungle. This is undoubtedly one of the most striking revelations ever made in the entire history of archaeology.